Hey, it's Dr. Beth with Psych Downloads. This is the 5th video in a 5-part series entitled, Should I Break Up with My Partner? And for the last video in this series, I wanted to talk about 3 things. I wanted to talk about time and length you've been in your relationship and the amount of time you spent questioning or you've remained uncertain about your relationship. I want to talk about the common fear of being alone. And I also wanted to talk about agency. So to start with time, I want to just check in with you and see how long have you been questioning your relationship? How long have you been uncertain about it? If you've only been uncertain for a short period of time, but your relationship has extended much longer than your amount of questioning, you may want to give yourself some extra time to determine whether or not you should end your relationship. If you're having relatively new feelings about ending a relationship, maybe just see whether or not your current mood is going to pass like the weather and maybe next week you're going to feel better, or whether or not some difficult mood that your partner is going through is also going to change like the weather and they're going to show up differently next week and you're going to feel better about your relationship. However, if you have been questioning or uncertain about whether or not you want to stay in this relationship for a prolonged period of time, if it's been a large percentage of the amount of time that you've been in your relationship, has it been 3 months of the 6 months you've been together? Has it been 6 years of the 8 years that you've been married? Has it been just a couple weeks, but you only started dating a couple months ago? Sometimes when we look at the amount of time we've been questioning a relationship, we can start to get an indication that maybe we're starting to fade out of this relationship. Maybe just the act of questioning the relationship over and over again might be information enough to suggest that maybe you should end this relationship and it's not the right relationship for you. Sometimes there's not a negative reason to end a relationship. Sometimes it just doesn't feel right. And I believe that deep down you know this, that you know whether or not this relationship really feels right for you. So there might not be something that you can identify with your partner that's concerning, but you might just get a sense that it doesn't feel right. So if you've remained uncertain and if you continue to question this relationship, just know that that alone may be indication enough that maybe it's time to end your relationship. However, I wanted to speak to people that have a series of relationships where you continue to question or be uncertain. If this is you, you may want to consider speaking with a therapist that has a specialty in working with attachment and relationship history. Sometimes people find that because of their early relationships, either with family or previous partners, they remain uncertain and have a hard time really trusting themselves whether or not the relationship they're in is the right one for them. So if you have a series and a long-standing history of being uncertain about relationships, maybe you should consider talking to a therapist. Now, I also wanted to talk about a common fear that prevents people from ending their relationship. People fear being single. People fear being alone. Now, it's up to you whether or not you want to stay in a relationship because you feel fearful of being with yourself. That's up to you if you choose to do that. However, I just want to reassure you that being single and being with yourself is nothing to be afraid of. In fact, we can achieve so much power when we know ourselves, when we know what makes us happy, when we know what makes us sad, when we learn to rely on ourselves to take care of us. Being out of partnership really allows us to fine-tune the ways that we can tune into our self-reliance and that we can tune into ways to best care for ourselves. And often it's the people that really know how to be with themselves and feel really comfortable being single that find the healthiest and most sustainable relationships. Because the people that aren't fearful of being alone won't tolerate being in a bad relationship. They won't tolerate when their partner doesn't show up, and they won't tolerate being with a partner that doesn't take accountability for their mistakes. So there's something really powerful about learning to be with yourself and being alone. So I want to highlight that if being single is fearful to you, if that's actually one of the reasons that you're hesitating ending your relationship, have you actually learned how to be on your own as an adult? Or have you been somebody that's gone from relationship to relationship to relationship? Do you even know that it doesn't need to feel bad being on your own? There's nothing shameful about being single or being with yourself. Again, it's such a wonderful way of being. There's nobody that you need to negotiate with. There's no one that you need to check in with. There's no one that you need to determine what you're going to do this coming Friday. You just get to check in with yourself. You get to be on your own time schedule. You get to spend what you want and what makes sense to you. So I just want to highlight that if you have a fear of being single, please don't let this hesitate ending a relationship. It's very understandable that the transition from going between a we or an us to an I will be challenging. That's part of why it's difficult to end a relationship. But learning how to feel comfortable in being with your sense of I is a wonderful gift that you can give to yourself. I also wanted to speak to agency. You have the agency to end your relationship. Many people, I want to get to a place in a relationship where they mutually determine with their partner that it's time to call their relationship quits. And I want to say that while there are relationships that are able to get to a mutual understanding of ending their relationship, it is okay to end your relationship unilaterally. You can unilaterally use your agency to end your relationship. You do not need your partner's approval to end your relationship. So I really hope that whether or not you vote to stay in your relationship and use your agency to engage in your relationship, or whether or not you vote to end your relationship and use your agency to unilaterally end it, that you remind yourself that you have the agency to be in any relationship that you want to be in. I want to also remind you that we don't always have agency to choose our family members. A lot of times we did not elect those, they were just chosen for us. You do, however, have the agency to choose and elect to be in a romantic and a sexual partnership. So I just wanted to remind you that you have the agency to decide what relationships you choose to be in and what relationships you choose to end. I'm hoping that this 5-part series has helped you determine whether or not you should end your relationship. I'm Dr. Beth, and this is Psych Downloads. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel by finding Psych Downloads. Follow me at Psych Downloads on Instagram, and please like my page on Facebook titled Psych Downloads. Thanks so much.